Have you ever stopped to think about what community really means and the value that it might provide? Traveling your pathway is a challenge, and oftentimes having the support of a community can make all the difference. We're going to talk about community support, what it means, and more on episode 792 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Good morning, Tom. You're using the quiet voice.
I am using the quiet voice. I am on vacation. Not vacation. I'm on a work trip.
I was going to say, far from vacation from what you described to me of your Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Yeah, that was a little interesting. And so I am in a house with other officials. So I'm just trying to keep my voice down just a little bit.
All right. So I'm going to ask you the important question, Tom, that I know everyone wants to know the answer to, and you're going to have to be honest with me. Do the officials all wear striped pajamas with the vertical black and white stripes?
That is a secret amongst our community that we cannot share.
Okay. All right.
Come on, every community has those things that they're like, we can't tell you all the secrets, just some of them.
Like magicians. I understand.
Correct.
Okay. I will just have to continue going to events that Gene Steratore speaks at and asking him. Eventually he'll give in and tell me the truth.
I don't know. It's a pretty strong bond that we have, and I'm not sure that they're going to share that.
We, the officials, not you and me.
Correct. Well,
Okay.
no, yeah, our bond stinks, so.
I don't know. Based on what's happened in the last 48 hours, maybe not. So, hey, it's Monday morning. Another week. And I got to tell you, it's dark.
Oh, the time change. Yes.
Yes. I was up early. I was up at, early to go for a walk. Oh, it was brutally dark and cold and wet and just not good weather.
Yeah.
So, to all you people who are getting up and dealing with the reality of life today, hey, here's to you. Drink an extra cup of coffee.
There you go.
You're going to need it.
Yes, you are. All right. Well, good. We've given that intro. I hope it's not as dark as we move through the show. Good morning and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we have a conversation around a topic each week. And then in the middle of the week, we dive into those topics a little bit deeper. So we try to help you figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. As we have that conversation, we encourage you to share your thoughts and ideas because we know it'll add value to the show. And at the end of the conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing that we hope will help you figure out how to take your next step when you might be stuck, uncertain, or unsure, or aren't able to find the community you have or figure out where you fit in within that committed community. So feel free to share your antidote as well, because we know that there might be somebody out there looking exactly for what you have to say. Before we start that conversation, though, each morning Bob and I share our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
Hey, I'm celebrating that I got up early, even though there was a time change and it was dark, and actually went out and exercised. I was doing that for a couple weeks, and then last week I kind of hurt my back a little bit and then back at it today. So bravo to me.
Bravo to you. Way to get back on the wagon.
There you go. On the wagon. No, there was no wagon. I was walking. If there had been a wagon, it would have been better. Heated wagon, even better.
There's no little something in that coffee.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Actually, protein powder.
In your coffee?
Yes.
Never heard of that. Interesting.
Just got to deliver it somehow.
Fair enough.
What, do you drink your protein powder just out of the cup dry?
No, I usually put it in a smoothie.
I don't make smoothies, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a good idea, though. Huh.
Something for you to think about.
That.
All right. Might have to have a blender.
I have a, what's it? The Magic Bullet.
Excellent.
Yeah. How about you? Not do you have a magic bullet? What are you celebrating today?
So I am going to celebrate the community of officials that were gracious enough to provide me with the opportunity to stay at this house. And maybe later in the week, I'll give you, if the internet works, sort of an insight into the view that I'm able to get at this place. That's my celebration for today.
Are you looking at an ocean?
Looking at a lake.
Ah, okay. All right. Is it Crystal Lake?
It is not Crystal Lake.
Okay. All right.
I don't think. Actually, I'm not sure. I know the name of the lake, so.
Okay. All right. All right. Can't tell you
right.
exactly where you are, even though it's highly secret, right? Can't tell
Extremely
what state you're in.
secret. Actually, here's the funny thing: is even if they knew where it was, they couldn't find it. And when I drove in trying to find it at night, even harder. So
there you go. Well, so we're starting a new week, and we've started the year. So we've been on this path all year talking about your pathway. And now we're talking about your pathway in a different way. How you can move towards your pathway, how you can stay on your pathway, or how you can figure out when to deviate from your pathway because new information comes about, new knowledge, new experience, new perspectives, and you choose to alter it. So this week we start the whole idea of community support, which I am a big fan of. I don't think I realized as I was younger how important community is to me. And you and I have developed this community. We have a Facebook group that's a great community that we've gotten to know a lot of those people. And you and I each have communities that we share outside of that, and also our own communities. You have your community of officials, and I have my community of tall, dorky people, and we don't wear the stripes. We just act tall. So,
okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Anyway. I don't know what acting tall means, but okay. I must not be tall. I don't understand.
There you have it. So today we're going to talk about what community and support around that community means. Do you have some ideas, Tom?
Well, I do. It's interesting. I think one of the things about it is that I'm not sure that we realize all the different communities that we are in. And I think there are formal ones and informal ones. I think as you described it, tall, dorky group is not one that necessarily identifies itself. You might be a part of that. You might see others who might be a part of it. And yet they might feel like, well, I'm only 6'4", and 6'4" isn't really tall. You really, to be tall, you've got to be 6'10" or taller. And so I think that there's some of the things, even though you share some of the similarities depending on where you're at. So I think that's part of it, is that when you can, you have a community where you identify and everyone knows you're in that community. Other times you have a community that people don't even know that you're a part of it. They may, if they thought about it, considered it, but they haven't really taken the time to consider it and wonder the value of what it is. You talked about our group. There are people in our group who maybe they just get the value of it, of our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, I should say that. Maybe they don't, they get a certain part of the value of it. And then others get a different part of it. Some people like to comment on the show. On this show, some people just listen to it. Some people just like to watch the feed in the group. And so I think there's the opportunity to really kind of understand where it is and whether you choose to define it or not.
I also think there's a value in understanding when you start looking at your community, what that community provides you that you need. Mm-hmm. So I'm a firm believer that communities find us as much as we find communities. That when you're in need, it just sort of works itself out that you end up in a place where the people that you need are usually there, or you seek it out. Yeah, I found it throughout the last, 4 or 5 years that I've really just stumbled into communities that were exactly what I need at the time I needed them. Someone mentioned something to me, or, in one case, it was a chance encounter at a Panera with someone, and like, oh, you should come check this out. And I've seen that with networking groups around my business. I've seen that with personal things. And I think we often don't think about the value of that community. We just it gives us support. Like I know I belong to various communities, a church community, and it provides me support. I belong to a couple of networking groups, and those networking groups all provide different forms of support. There's one networking group that I go to where it's just really casual, and it's just nice to talk to the people around my business in a very open and honest way. There's another networking group that's great for leads, and those both fulfill duties. And we're blessed now. I mean, think of how we are now. You can have online communities, a million of them. You know, you could join every Facebook group around business, and you would have 80,000 communities probably. And I think what's important to me is really think about what those communities provide, because communities will come and go for a variety of reasons. I think one of the things I've learned is when a community goes, what am I losing with that community no longer being there? And where can I find that I need? You know, whether are these people encouraging? Are these people great to just complain about? Is it, I belong to one group where it's just nice to get out of the house and be at a meeting on a Tuesday. I was working at home a lot, and it was just really valuable to be outside of the house. And other communities like, oh, this has really helped my business, or wow, these people are inspirational to me in a really, like, I get in the room with these people and I feel like I'm a better version of myself. And I think thinking about what the communities that we belong to, the formal ones, and I really like what you're saying about the informal ones, because there are so many informal communities. You just meet someone, you have a shared interest. I think an informal community for me is playing golf with a couple of people.
Sure.
And, you just get together over the golf course, you have a drink before or after, you play golf together. And during that time, you're focused on whatever it is you're focused on. Sometimes it's business problems, sometimes it's personal problems, sometimes it's just goofing off and enjoying the weather.
And yes, and I think it's also not just, as we talked a little bit about last week, when we talked about support, your pathway support, that there's a lot of different ways of support. I think it's easy to think of the support when things are challenging. I think often we forget about the times when we're having some success. I think it's interesting. Like, one of the communities that I'm a part of is the gym that I go to. And because it's a team, not a team, it's a coach-led group exercise, you're all going through the same thing at the same time. And even though you might be doing it differently, everybody's on the treadmill together, and some people are walking. Some people are walking at an incline. Some people are jogging. Some people are running a little bit faster. And yet the accomplishment of completing whatever the task is something that community shares in and of itself. And while there's the big community of the gym, there's also the small community of who's in the class that day. And then based on the way the class is set up, there's who's in the community of, well, here are the people who are on the treadmills at this time. Here are the people who are in the rowers at this time. And here are the people on the floor. And that there's those sub communities even within a larger community where we have the opportunity to find support, and so you do something really difficult on the treadmill and you celebrate with your treadmill group because you went through it. You also celebrate with the other people in the gym because they know they're going to go through it at some point as well. And I think if you ask most of those people, some of them would say, yeah, this is a real community. Others are just like, they get in there so focused on just doing their thing that they hadn't even considered the group a community, let alone the sub communities within it.
I like that. I had a sub community form yesterday morning. I go to church at 8 a.m. And so yesterday, with the time change, that was really early, and there were probably a quarter of the people there. But the people, as they were arriving, were looking around and just sort of smiling at everyone and nodding, like, "Oh, you're a real early riser, not the fake early riser." And as people were leaving, there was just energy around the room, because it's like, "Ha, we got up and we made it here." And that's a community that was formed just yesterday because of the change in time.
Sure.
And that community will continue in some form or another. I assume next Sunday there'll be people that I will talk to, like, oh, 2 weeks in a row, you got up early, and just all that. And you'll see a community formed on Thursday in a lot of this country because the NCAA basketball tournament begins.
Yes.
And there'll be those that don't work as much during Thursday and Friday. Shh, don't tell anyone. And you'll see a community formed on Friday over St. Patrick's Day and people celebrating that. And we have these things that come up, and you have a community formed when someone gets hurt. That people come together and it's like, let's prepare food for them, or let's take care of all their obligations, or see if we can just visit them at the hospital. And I think we have that around our business too, if we are willing to ask for the help. And that's the part for me that what it means to me is being open and honest with people about what you're trying to accomplish so you can have that community formed. And I wasn't good at that. I will confess that that's never been my strength. I'm usually frustrated, in need of support for a week, sometimes a month. And then I finally ask someone. And when I do, it's very tepid. It's like, hey, I'm having this problem. Can you maybe help me with it? I asked you to do something for me the other day, and that was like the hardest thing in the world for me to do. And it's not even a big deal to you. Like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I think that's part of this whole idea of community. I think we have to understand its value. And what it means is it's two-way street. It's not just that the community forms around us. We form around the community. And if you don't invest in that community, you don't have that community. It won't stay long if you don't invest in some way, right? And I think what it means is really that open exchange. I think that's probably my one thing this morning is community is not people coming to support you as much as it's people coming to support you when you express a need, when you're sharing openly and honestly.
I like that. I think that as I think about, my thing, I think it's really understanding that, to me, the community can be formed around a shared experience, whatever that might be. Okay. And it might be formed for just a short amount of time or not. The one thing about it is that in that community, you share a little bit of knowledge. You share a little bit of experience, although it's not always exactly the same. And you also share an impact on your perspective. And I think that's the piece that, anytime you're anywhere, your knowledge, experience, and perspective with that group of people is being impacted. And so you share something in the moment that you may or may not choose to leverage later on, the individuals or the experience. You look at everybody who went to school together. All right, well, we're in the same school. And I could see that as a community. Do I also then consider my class as a community? And I think that's one of the challenges, that people don't identify those things or those spaces or those shared experiences as a community. They just see it as an individual experience. And I think that's where the opportunity is missed. Because again, when you share that you were a part of this community, you might identify that others are a part of it as well. So I'm standing in line. Well, I get on the airplane and I'm walking down the aisle, and I'm 3 rows in, and there's this young girl already sitting in her seat on the outside row. And I'm wearing a shirt that had a Buffalo Bills logo on it. And she catches my eye and immediately says, "Hey, go Bills." That's kind of like the greeting card of the community of Bills fans, that they like to call themselves the Bills Mafia.
Yep.
And that changed the way I felt getting on the airplane. Then I go to stand in line at the rental car, and in the weave of people, 2 people ahead of me turned around and said, "Oh, hey, sir, go Bills." And then we had this little conversation about our connection to Western New York and Buffalo. And I think that you can see that as a community. And again, standing in a line that you're in for 45 minutes and you're having that shared experience, which can be challenging. And then someone else reminds you of another shared experience, community, can change the way you look at it. Like, it was a lot easier after standing there having a 2-minute conversation about this. I was like, okay, it made the time pass a little differently. And I was looking at the experience in a different way than the guy behind me who was complaining the whole time about if he'd only gone to Orlando to check in, he would have had a car quicker and moved forward. And so he didn't value the shared experience the way, because he was so caught up in the emotion of where he was at. And so I think that's, to me, really what community means, is that it's an opportunity to understand the impact of a shared experience or a shared trait, as you mentioned, being tall and dorky. Considering calling yourself a renegade, calling yourself a Bills fan. Those are all things that allow us to have a community that provides a different type of support, depending on where we are and when we might need it, if we choose to leverage it. Like, I could have, like, that girl in the seat could have not said anything and been like, oh, should I not? And chose not to. Yet she made the choice to let her community have an impact on her and choose to then express that.
And I think it gives us confidence as we approach the day to know that we're not alone. Ultimately, we're pack animals. We don't like being, you can say, or I can say, I want to figure out my business. And if I'm the owner, I've got to figure out my business. But at the end of the day, that's not how, we can't do it without the influence of other people. It's just, and think of all the people who have influenced us over the years, from teachers, parents, relatives, people we've met along the way, and all the communities we've been in. What's one of the reasons they say to send your kids to school? So they can socialize. Well, socializing is being part of a community. And if you're not part of a community when you're a little kid, it gets more complicated as you get older. And we get used to that. What happens in the schoolyard when we're in kindergarten? We break into little pods, right? They're the boys that like to play dodgeball, and they're the boys that like to play kickball, and they're the boys that like to swing, and they're the girls that like to play on the trampoline or the slide or whatever it is. I was running out of things. Probably not trampoline schools, but it'd be fun if there was. But we go into those subgroups, but then we come back into the classroom and you have the shared experience of the classroom. And then you get older and you go into classes where everyone takes biology. One group takes biology, another group is in math, and we form all these different groups. And it's funny, if you go to the high school reunion or college reunion, everyone's like, oh, I remember you from this class. I remember you from this class. Remember that time? And I think that's how we operate. And we become more confident that we can accomplish things, knowing that we have people behind us. The Bills Mafia is really a community built around the idea that Bills struggled. And that, historically, they had a hard time winning Super Bowls. And so I think that built up, and then it became a community of support. Like, we're all in this together. And then they've gone off and done really great things to support the community by raising money and doing all kinds of activities. So that community started as something very small, and now it's become something very, very large. And I think that's what happens with communities that are valuable to the people. They find other ways to enrich themselves with them. So you start getting confidence. Wow, all the Bills fans are in this mafia group. Wow, we should do something about that. Well, this would be a really good way to help someone. We can pool our resources. See, that's the other thing I think about community support is we can pool our resources. You might be good at something, I'm good at something else. And if we can talk together, now I'm confident that if I do something that you're good at, you'll help me get better at it. And I think that's
you're not giving away all the benefits of a community, are you?
No, I'm not. I've got other benefits.
Oh, okay.
But you're right. I'm guilty. I'm out.
We'll talk about the benefits later in the week as well. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just like, oh.
No, it was a good cutoff. Yeah, it's good.
All right. Well, if you have a one thing, you could join the community of people who are mad at Tom Brush. Like the parents from one of the.
Do you guys sleep with your whistles around your neck? you officials?
That's a secret. It's one of those secrets. Don't ask about that. Come on. Yes. No. Yes, you could, like I said, you could join the community of people who are mad at Tom Brush, like the parents of one of the teams yesterday who shared some of those thoughts with me yesterday. So, all right, everyone. Thanks.
Officiating.
Yes. Thanks so much for being a part of our show today. If you have a one thing you'd like to share, please feel free to put it in the comments, because we know that there might be someone out there looking for that exactly, and maybe helps them figure out the community and how they can leverage it. If you happen to be listening to the podcast, thank you. We always like people who like, and I forgot what you need to do to support the podcast. Follow it.
You with
Help
us?
me out here, Bob.
What? I'm sorry, you lost me.
We're talking about the podcast. What's the way they can support the podcast? They can like it and
share.
Share it. Thanks.
Sorry, I lost you for a second. We're having some technology issues. You can like and share podcasts. Yes.
Okay.
5-star ratings. Always good.
That was the other one I was thinking I couldn't come up with. You can also, so if you're in that podcast, we know there's no place to share your thoughts and ideas. Please feel free to join us inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where you can share those thoughts and ideas, and you might just find in that community something else that you were looking for and haven't been able to find out where it is. So we look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time, for our next episode of today's Antidote. Go out and enjoy the day today.
Hey, folks, embrace the renegading you on this beautiful Monday. It's so worth it.
Yes, it is. All right, everyone. Be well. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.